Good morning. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, and I will always love you. Ooh, 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 ooh. This is things you might not have heard for Tuesday, February the 1st, 2022, the first day of February, the first day of the second month in this year, 2022, the shortest month this month, not a leap year, 28 days. I'm almost positive. We'll figure it out by day 28, of course. And what we're going to bring to you for this one day and for many days to come are 5 news stories and a teaser story, things that you have told us are really cool things, really great items to talk about. Now, we don't want to be your number one source of news because we don't have time, to be honest. We like to be your number 2, number 3, maybe even your 4th sort of choice. But we don't mind, and we go down that check down that, your star running back is covered and your star wide receiver also has some big coverage because when that ball comes our way, we're going to catch it. We promise. And so let's just say these stories are stories that you told us were essentially great stories to talk about that aren't necessarily the headlines, although a lot of them today are headlines. So just keep an eye on that one. Some of these stories are going to be really big, but these is meant to be some things that you can go out about in town, at work, at the job, at the gym, in the grocery store. And if you happen to strike up conversations with strangers, which seems like a thing people don't do these days, these are some things that might not be the big Chiron stories on the headline news. So if you want to keep things going here, one great way to help us out is to stop by our website called buymeacoffee.com and go to /JClevelandPayne. That's for my account, buymeacoffee.com /JClevelandPayne. That's a way to give donations in the forms of cups of coffee or the price of cups of coffee to keep things going. It pays the bills and keeps me hydrated. I set the kettle on earlier, but didn't bring it over here. So I have an empty mug from yesterday. We're just going to sip on some water to keep us hydrated today and just make it go because water is always good. Buy me a bottle of water. That works out great as well. So let's go to the first story for today. The first story coming up off the bat, this was the most interesting story by far that popped up inside of the feed from the last day or so. And that is Rachel Maddow to announce MSNBC, say that 3 times fast, hiatus to make film with Ben Stiller. Now, New York Post is a source of this one, and it's not just, Zoolander 2. This is not what's happening right with this one. This is not or Meet the Fockers publicist. This is not just a random film with Ben Stiller. This is Ben Stiller sort of branching out into doing other people's stories, and Rachel Maddow is going to do essentially a version of her book Bagman, and it's going to be done by Ben Stiller. So a great director, a great actor, a great guy in the show business world is going to help someone who's growing in her full media content, join to another form, if you will. Now, she's not quite leaving the MSNBC yet. At least this isn't her official departure. There are rumors that there's a big shakeup and a lot of things happening going on and that she's moving on to other things. This may be part of a temporary thing or it may turn into something bigger. But right now, the main reason is not because she wants more money. She wants more fame. She's going to CNN Plus. She is going to do one of her own things. And she's got some big backup in the form of Ben Stiller to help her out getting this movie out. So congratulations on getting that thing done. We'll see how well it turns out when it hits the theaters or the Netflix, if you will. Second story, another really big one. And this one is a big time headline that weirdly enough didn't take up a lot of space on the in the news, or technically has been taking up a lot of little space, little bits and pieces for a while. BA.2, a new COVID variant now in half of U.S. states. AL.com is the source of this one, and they are a state, and they have it, so there you go. There is a new variant behind the Delta, not quite named yet, so it's got the scientific name of BA.2, and we don't quite know what it's going to be at this point. We know the transition from not quite Delta, not quite Delta, not quite Omicron either. The transition from Delta to Omicron was a less deadly virus, but a more communicable virus. So that meant more masking, more social distancing so you wouldn't get it. But people that got it didn't get as sick, and weirdly enough, more children actually came down with a full-blown case of the coronavirus as opposed to past viruses. As you know, viruses are living things and they like to evolve pretty quickly since they're really tiny. As they go through a body and do their little dances inside your body and get shed out, however we shed these things, and that's kind of a debate on its own. they mutate for into similar types of things and essentially turn into the next thing. They have in their code what should come up next, and once the conditions are right, they do that. BA.2 is here. COVID is here. COVID-19 itself. It'll be, I mean, if a new one came out, if literally new COVID 2022 came out, it would happen here. COVID type viruses are out in the wild. The cold is a COVID type of virus. But these types of things are going to be for a while, and COVID-19 will transition to something at some point in time, I believe, not my scientific, true scientific knowledge, but just sort of how I believe these things work. It's going to be turned into something that we're just going to have to deal with on a regular basis. And that time probably coming soon, hopefully a lot less political panic in the process. What I want you to focus on right now is not the COVID-19, but the spelling in this, not 19. That was a very poor transition, but this is not a very poor website to go to. This is the conversationproject.com/Grammarly. This is the conversation.com/Grammarly. That is our link, our affiliate link to the Grammarly platform. Grammarly helps me write everything, because without it, my words would look like they sound right now. Pretty all over the place, pretty badly spelled, pretty poorly sounding, and just a jumble of whatnots. When I do jumbles of whatnots, it's usually just me speaking off the cuff like I am right now. When I write them down and put them in the Grammarly, it tells me how I should talk pretty, or write pretty, I should say. And then I try to talk pretty as the writing goes. You can get yourself a great deal and do yourself a great deal of goodness by going to thisistheconversationproject.com/Grammarly and checking out a trial subscription and then falling in love with it and keeping up with it. Grammarly is a great service that is used by academics, used by business people, used by many schools have it basically in their system so their students don't screw up when they write. If you're having troubles getting your writing down, getting your messages across, and I'm just spelling words right, try Grammarly today. This is the affiliate link, so we get a little bit of piece from your buy of this one, but it costs you nothing extra. So think about that. This story is another long time coming story that's been kind of floating around that I had to wait for an actual news story to pop up, because I've said it at least 3 times over the course of the Spotify debacle, which I'm calling a debacle. They're, calling it the greatest thing ever. Bree Brown won't be releasing any new episodes of her Spotify exclusive podcast, quote, until further notice. This is coming from relevantmagazine.com. Relevant Magazine is a Christian-based news website newsletter, but it's also all over the other news outlets in the internets, including I saw a version of this on Variety. And why is this a big deal? Brene Brown is an author, and what she does is she deals with transitions and deals with emotions and deals with people and organizations and companies for a job. She has a university job, but she also consults with companies to make sure that the people in the company, can kind of function and not be total jerks. She also is a very popular artist who writes about things and feelings and whatnot, and people love Brene Brown. She's an exclusive Spotify podcaster, which means people have to pay money to listen to her podcast on Spotify and not get it from other random RSS feeds. And she is jumping on the bandwagon started by Neil Young and continued by Joni Mitchell. And she doesn't want her stuff on the Spotify while Joe Rogan is doing his stuff on the Spotify because of the COVID misinformation. How long this is going to last, we'll see. How many people will drop out, we'll see. How many people are going to go open arms for Brene Brown being on the platform as opposed to Joe Rogan being on the platform? We shall see. As I said, this is a thing that's going to go on and on for a bit, because free speech is an issue. But in corporate speech, when you pay someone to speak and you pay people to go listen to them, that's another deal. Brene Brown is going to probably lose a little money, maybe lose some followers, but she still has an outlet and several other ways to get her word out. We'll see how long Spotify is going to deal with it in the current case, which is just putting stickers on the episodes that Joe Rogan has that are a little more crazier than others. Fourth story today is the New York Times Buys Wordle. NewYorkTimes.com is our source for this one, which ironically enough, they basically said, yo, we bought this. We're going to take care of this. It'll be free for a while. This is a bigger story than you may not have thought of, because Wordle is a bigger thing than you may not have thought of. Wordle is a game online. It has been free where you basically pick a 5-letter word, and then you have 6 chances to make sure that the word you've picked is the word of the day. And it's any word. You start with any word you can think of, and Wordle will give you clues to whether your letters are in the right order, whether your letters are correct but not in the right order, or if this letter is not good. I've only picked up Wordle literally about a week, and I'm not quite addicted to it yet. It's a one word a day game. And so there have been all sort of issues with bots that are spoiling the Wordle word for people and cheats for Wordle and stuff like that, because once things get big, they get big. It is still free. It is run by some massive computer conglomeration who apparently doesn't want any money. I don't know, but it's a big deal. If you have Facebook and other social media, and you see people with the green and yellow dots posted into their profiles, that's them getting the Wordle of the day, or not getting the Wordle if you go all the way 6 down. Don't get green all the way across. But Wordle is now bought by the New York Times, so the word puzzle game will be bought officially by a corporate sponsor, if you will. And they say for the moment it will be free. They literally don't say it'll be free forever. They don't say they'll never put a price tag on it. They just say for right now, as they do the transition and as they get into its new home, its new domain, if you will, Wordle shall remain free. But we'll see how long that goes. So what is not free is knowledge. But what is better to get knowledge is getting as much knowledge as fast and as easy as possible. And Blinkist is a way to get that knowledge. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist is our link to our affiliate link that gives you access to a free trial of the Blinkist app. Now, why is this a great thing? Because you won't be on the free trial very long. The Blinkist app is one of the greatest places to get your knowledge, to read lots of books. And as I say, it's a way that I'm able to read so many books because I go through at least 2 books a day using the Blinkist app. One in the morning as I get prepared and do my processing in the morning, and one at night as I go to bed. And I can do that, read 2 full books a day, sometimes more based on my time, because it breaks down the books, great self-help books, great history books, great autobiographies, into blinks that are the main points of the actual book. And you can read those blinks, or you can listen to those blinks in the span of about 15 hours. There are some 15 hours, 15 minutes. 15 hours would not be a quick way to get in that knowledge. That would be a very slow way. So you can get in your knowledge pretty quickly, and you can get through a lot of different books. There's plenty of different books that you've been waiting to read, but they've been too long, too monotonous time. They're there. They're adding new books every single week, and they're, of course, adding books from older collections and the newest self-help and the newest autobiographies. As they come down, pretty quickly they find their way onto the Blinkist app. So check them out at thisistheconversation.com. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist for a trial, the free version, which will give you 1 book a day. Or once you go ahead and get into it, you can get all the books you want to. You can get shortcasts, which are shortened versions of longer podcasts. And it also has great deals on actual full line of digital books if you want to go the full route. Check it out at thisistheconversationproject.com/Blinkist. Our final story in the headline beat today is the one that you probably already knew about, because this has been apparently one of the worst secrets ever. Joe Theismann confirms new Washington football team name will be the Commanders. This coming from thebiglead.com. Hydration is good. So this new name for the Washington football team, formerly Washington Redskins, has been floating around in rumors for a few weeks now, and I've been doing my best to not dig into it. The official announcement of the new name is set for this week. I believe it's tomorrow, but set for February. The first week of February was the official announcement, and we will see what happens. This, of course, Joe Theismann confirming it yesterday, which was the 31st of January, because there have been all sorts of leaks, all sorts of just articles on it, and all sorts of complaints about from the fans about just how dumb the name is. The Washington Commanders is a dumb name. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, and I've said this on February the 1st, 2022. I have plenty of fans of the Washington football team, formerly known as the Washington Redskins, and I'm telling those fans, your team now has a really, really dumb name. I've said it. I've said it twice, and I'll say it again too, because the Washington Commanders is a horrible name, and that's all I got to say about that. We'll see if we actually get punked and find out that it's not the Washington Commanders, it's Washington Rabbit Bunnies, which would be a kind of cool name because Rabbit Bunnies would be kind of cool to see as a mascot. But the Commanders, I guess because it's a DC thing, maybe. But yeah, third time. Very dumb name. We also like to give you kind of a glimpse of what's going on, what's going to pop up in the feed. So to see what you look out for. Here's a story that's going to come into the feed in about 10-15 minutes now as I'm recording this. We time things out, so I'm not literally firing it at the top of the hour. I'm timing things out to stretch them out through the stories throughout the day. This is one that probably concerns you because as you got cooped up during pandemic times, you had to deal with what you're going to do. And a lot of people could not go to movies. So they did the other route and they bought in on streaming services. One of those, HBO Max. HBO Max was ready for a big debut anyway, but the pandemic made it so they can offer up all the movies they had slated to go onto the big screen, that being Warner Brothers, onto without a delay and for a subscription. And it's sort of started the revolution of, the early birds. Same day release was something that was going to happen regardless, but the pandemic essentially bypassed that because you couldn't actually go to a theater and see at the same time. This story from The Wrap reads, half of HBO Max subs who signed up after Wonder Woman 1984 were gone in 6 months. Same with Disney Plus after Hamilton and Apple TV after Greyhound, according to new data. So all the new streaming services that put out something massive that was supposed to be in theaters and bring people out for those things, but didn't want to delay them, that put them out onto the streaming services, found out that once life got back to normal, more or less, and once the really, really cool stuff that was hyped out was there, it wasn't worth the cost for subscriptions. I say personally, I paid for Disney Plus because of Hamilton, but we kept it because of the Disney stuff. We paid for HBO Max because of Godzilla versus King Kong, oddly enough. And we've kept it because my wife's now watching the new Sex and the City. So we have a tendency of keeping these things and not unsubscribing because, unfortunately, we watch way too much TV in my house. But that's not the excuse for most people. Most people saw the one good nugget that they wanted to see, and then they got out of it quickly. That's what happened with HBO Max. That's what happened with Disney Plus in a lot of places. The streaming services are not going anywhere, but what they are going to do is have to go through a final form of their own to transition to something that's really worth having and keeping. Because right now, my unbundled cable bill, because everything is a streaming service, my TV is Yahoo TV and other various streaming services to support things to watch like Netflix and Disney Plus and HBO Max. My unbundled cable bill is now as much as my currently formerly bundled cable bill, because I have all these things that I know I don't watch. Just like with cable, I had all those things that I know I didn't watch, but they came in the package. And that's, my financial stuff. As the Capital One banner pops up on that ad, that's my financial burden to bear. Let's talk about things you can do with things you might not have heard. Number one, stop by the website. This is theconversationproject.com. We are clearing house. We're cleaning out the stuff that was the former things we had on there, which the last big thing was 8 things to talk about. We may bring that back. It's a timing thing. It's hard to get write a full newsletter and do a full morning show, if you will, every single morning. And so we're doing that. If you stop by and buy a Bear mattress, maybe we'll get more of those things done. Also stop by buymeacoffee.com/JClevelandPayne, and maybe we'll get more of those stuff done. So donations to help keep us hydrated, caffeinated, and keep the lights on for what's going on in the projects. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/This is the Conversation Project. And on Twitter, follow us at twitter.com/th_conversation. What happens there is, as you look into your Facebook feed and your Twitter feed, every 50 minutes, we post a new news story, just like the Wonder Woman story that's posting fairly soon. If you see it in your feed, just engage with it. Like it, love it, hate it, share it. The more engagement you give to the story, the higher it gets into the ratings for the day and the better chance we get to talk about it. What we do is we take the top 15 stories from the previous day, which stretches a little bit past 24 hours, closer to 28, 30 hours. And we go take the top 15 stories of that range and pick the ones that are most conversational and ones that are more likely to have missed talk on Anderson Cooper 360 last night. Although he does get very thorough, Well, not really sometimes, but so some of the stories that you may have missed if you're watching cable news all day long because they're banging on the same stories, we try to make sure they're up there. And like we said, they're the most conversational because you have given input for their conversationalist, which is not a word. I am Jay Clifton Payne, of course. I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston, the song tease for the day. If you want to give us a song tease, go to the Twitter, hit me up at J Clifton Payne, and let me know what song tease we should use. We'll do some shout outs for that going forward. And just let us know how we're doing. We love any sort of feedback, the good, the bad. And yes, we've gotten some ugly so far, but we've taken it all in stride and fewer tears than you would expect. So there's that. Thank you so much for joining us for this day. We're going to gather up more news and put it out for you, and then we're going to gather it up when it's all done and tell you what stories you said were the most conversational for tomorrow at this time tomorrow. So have a great day. Take these stories with you and take the day and have a great day.